Here's Brad Bluenow Farm. You know, we're getting into the crappy months of end of September, going into October, November, December, and so on, all the way till spring, and the weather's going to get wet, snowy, cold, and miserable. And a lot of people want to start accumulating some of their hay now so they can feed their animals throughout the wintertime. But not everybody has space to put their round bales in for dry hay. And they're kind of limited in what they want to do. So one option you may have, and you may consider this, especially if you're a small operation, is find somebody that will wrap your dry hay in plastic for a short-term process. And to do so, we use a bale wrapper in black plastic, and we wrap these bales, about 28 wraps, and these are 4x4s, and get them really nice and tight, the best we can, to keep the moisture out. And I have several customers that really like that. So stay tuned. I'm going to take you through the process, show you what we do and how we do it, and hopefully you enjoy the video. So let's get to it. So I want to introduce you to a Farmland bale wrapper, but also there are similar models on the market. Also one that's real similar is the AgWrap. I like the AgWrap a little better than the Farmland, but both of them are both good. Farmland's more of an Amish style wrapper. The AgWrap is more an English style wrapper, and they have, I think the AgWrap is a little bit more sophisticated, meaning they have better controls. This model I bought it used. The person that bought it was from Ohio. That's where I'm from. AgWrap is in Ohio. AgWrap is manufactured in Ohio. Farmland is out of Pennsylvania. So the person I bought from in Ohio took this Farmland to basically, I believe, probably the manufacturer of the AgWrap, and basically had some parts of this converted to an AgWrap. So this is really like a hybrid model of both an AgWrap and a Farmland in design, mostly when we deal with controls, because I basically have a stick that controls the directions and options that I need to do to wrap a bale. And I'll show you that a little bit later. But the bottom line is I bought this style wrapper specifically to eventually do some baleage, and I am a one-man operation, so what's nice about this is I designate a tractor and have this wrapper on it, and I can go out in the field right after I bale some baleage. I can come up and start wrapping these bales, whenever I feel like it after the bales are made. And normally you want to use a bigger tractor, something about 70 horse or bigger. You just want one that's really stout, because this is a lot of weight. And time you say if you had baleage and a 4x4 bale, you're talking almost 1,200 pounds of a bale on top of over a 1,500 pound AgWrap machine or a Farmland machine. So they're very heavy. So you need enough tractor to hold you up. And also, as this unit spins, you can feel it shake the tractor. So you want a tractor that's pretty stout. This unit is really pretty simple to use. It's really not hard. I actually like these a lot, and I wound up buying this used for like $4,500. And you'll find a lot of them on the market, but the problem is that you may find one that may be a little cheaper, but may be a little older. It may not have the equipment or basically the controls that are state of the art. So I kind of like the newer models better, and I would probably lean more toward an AgWrap because I think they're more on top of being more state of the art, but either one works out good. And I like this one because it's kind of, like I said, a hybrid. So the idea behind this is that you come in, these arms spread out, and then you get in, straddle a bale, and then you control the arms to bring them in. It'll rotate the bale, and then you'll start the wrap, and it'll wrap the bale as many times as you wish. And then it will have a bar that will lift up, that will catch this plastic and come down on it, and then you'll turn the bale in a counterclockwise direction, or actually a clockwise direction, and actually serrate it and cut the plastic. And it's relatively very simple. Then you back up, and then you open up the arms, drop the bale, and you continue forward. It doesn't really take that long. I'm going to show you how it's done real quick so you can at least get an idea. And I think it's pretty efficient for what I've done. Now, my understanding is if you do 4x4 bales, you want to get like an 18-inch wrap. And if you're into the 4x5 bales, you want a 30-inch wrap. So a lot of it's because it seals better, from what I was told. So if you're doing baleage, you want to do white plastic. If you're doing dry hay, you want to do black plastic. And the concept behind black plastic outside is because of the way the sun hits it and burns it off, and basically keeps the bale drier. But, you know, ultimately though, this is a really good little system to do. I've done it and it has worked for me. And, you know, but I think if you're a cattle person, I think it works probably best for somebody that deals with cows, more so than somebody that does horses. But it does work even if you do have horses. And the people that I'm selling this hay to, both people that like them dry hayed and wrapped, are both horse people. So I'm going to walk you through the wrapping process. And what you're going to notice on this bale wrapper, it's kind of tilted, lifted upward. And the reason for that is as this bale starts to turn, sometimes they have a habit of working themselves off the rollers. So that's why I have it angled upward, probably like a 30-degree angle, to try to keep it from rolling itself out. So, but with that said, I want to walk you through how we rebale and wrap. With that said, I'm going to show you how we wrap round bales and in black plastic, just to give you a good idea on how this unit works. Hey guys, as you can see, it's kind of off the camera. You'll notice they have this spread wide and about a 30-degree angle coming into this bale. And the reason why I have this, because once I pull it together, it'll lift the bale and it'll rotate it and these arms will shut. But the idea is to keep this bale from working itself off as this bale wrapper starts swinging around. And sometimes you'll have that happen. So that's a way of avoiding that little problem. That's one thing I learned as I started to do this. So I'm going to take you through the process and we're going to wrap this bale. So the first thing you need to do is approach the bale. And you want to give yourself enough room on both sides because of these arms. And you come into the bale as tight as you can until it hits these white plastic markers. Then you'll start to pull the bale in together and you'll see these rollers starting to roll. You want the bale to kind of roll itself around and make sure all your arms are completely closed. At this point you can stop, pick it up. I'll just move a little bit forward so you guys can see. Lift it up as high as you can. And the reason why you want it as high as you can, at least in my opinion for this tractor, is that it keeps everything elevated and angled properly. The next thing you do is you're going to wrap. We're going to wrap about 18 times. And you can control how fast you want this to go. And sometimes if it goes too fast, it's kind of hard to manage. Because you can see I'm swinging around with the tractor and it can be pretty violent. Now there's an arm in here with a blade that I control too. And I lift it up because it's from plastic that tells from previous, and it keeps it a cleaner bale. So this arm that's going off is I have an alarm system in here when I get about 18 wraps. So then I got a knife that I pull this down and it holds the plastic. Then I rotate the bale in from what I see, a clockwise position. And it actually serrates and cuts the plastic from the bale. At this point I'm done. I have 18 wraps in this bale and it's done. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just back up. I'm going to set it down. And I'm going to open up the jaws so the bale can come out. And you want to come out as smooth as possible because you don't want to serrate or cut the plastic. And there you have it. One bale wrapped and done. So here we are inside the tractor cab. And I just want to show you, number one, you definitely need to have a plug. And it's mostly a cigarette lighter plug with the unit that I have. And this is your power that works your controller. And it's a stick right here. And the way this thing works is that you need to use the stick in conjunction with the remotes. And if you push this button here, which you consider as an A button, and you pull it in a certain way, what will happen is the jaws will actually widen out and the rollers will turn. If I just not use the stick and I wind up using this remote and pull it a certain way, the wrapper will actually wrap. If I push this button, which is C, and I push this down and I use the lever a certain way, it will actually lift up where the plastic is getting caught before you cut it with the knife, and holds the plastic. So each button has a job, and you need to kind of figure out exactly the process and how to use it. And this is kind of more of a memory thing, but it's basically this controller works with itself and with one of your remote switches, and that's really it. And this is why I say this is not the most current version. It's kind of like generation 2, I guess you want to say, but it works out okay, and I'm not going to complain about it because I understand how to use it. And it took a little bit of a learning curve to understand it, but through repetition, I understand it, I use it, and it works fine for me. There's other tricks to make this more effective, but this is not as bad as it appears. So, but this is not the most current generation on the market, but it does well. And this is an Ag Wrap add-on. This is not something that comes with Farmland that makes it a little different. That's why it's like a bastard child. But it does a really nice job, and I'm really not disappointed with it. And I know that the Ag Wrap unit now has a really simple forward and reverse thing, and the buttons are a lot easier. It's not this complicated. The other thing that you need, okay, when you look under here, I have a hydraulic top link. Very important. And I use the hydraulic top link all the time to tilt the bale wrapper. And I will highly endorse that. And the other problem is the hook up to the tractor is not that simple. And this is where you need one of those quick attach plates, which is this. And this is a Land Pride quick attach plate, and it's designed to fit this tractor and that unit. And this is the only and easiest way to hook up to this Farmland, and I would not do it any other way, because it is a very square unit, and it's not something you can move around. You want to kind of like fall into it, and that's where I highly endorse this plate with this unit. I don't really get a lot of benefit out of having a quick attach plate, but for this I highly endorse using it with the Farmland. And I would think it's probably the same as with the Ag Wrap. Now, the one thing about the Ag Wrap, they have it to be 3-point, and they have a plate that could also be used for a skid steer, which I actually like that a lot. But I'm going to do another video on some of the tricks of using this unit, and I'll kind of go into more depth. But right now I just want to give you a basic foundation of the makeup and how all this kind of folds together. Hey, if you want to unwrap your bales after they're wrapped, you need to approach it with coming into that bale and back into it when the bale is counterclockwise, because if that's said and that's done, the top of the bale will be where the level strings are for you to unwrap them. So you want to definitely do it that way. And normally you'll know where the bottom is because you'll see the plastic flap that'll be cut. It'll be down on this end versus the top end. The other thing too is once I know where the top versus the bottom is, I might mark with spray paint or something the top of the plastic so I know that that's the top. Just makes it easy to identify, that's all. So you can see the bale's been cut here because it came out the wrapper, and this is the side where the flap is. So what I'm going to do is, because my customers really don't pay attention to how these things are wrapped, I'm going to take some red paint and probably put a big T on the other side so they know that's the top of the bale. So when they set this up to unwrap it with the string, they can cut the bale and they know that that's the top, and the string will come right off real easy doing it that way. So just to keep it simple, you know, just run around your bales and just put a T, done. That's the top, they know what it is, and there'll never be a problem. So if you produce or you purchase a large amount of wrap bales, you may want to invest in a bale hugger. They call them a bale handler, they can call them a bale grapple, but it's this style where they are designed to hug a bale, not rip the plastic, and they allow you the flexibility to basically move them wherever you need to do. You can stand them up, set them down, you can carry two at one time. You can do a lot with these, and they do a really nice job. The kicker on this is because those bales are heavy, you know, especially if you grab two at one time, even if they're dry hay, you definitely need a counterbalance. And what's nice is with that Farmland bale wrapper behind it, you know, that's a lot of weight, and it basically gives you that counterbalance, and I really like having that, especially when I handle a lot of these bales. So, but definitely worth the investment. They're about $2,000. This one I bought from AgWrap, and they're down in Canton, Ohio. I went there directly and saw them down there, and they definitely will set you up also with a wrapper if you're interested. You know, a new wrapper I think is around 11 grand, but you can find used wrappers on the market. Just again, you got to find the one that's out there that's possibly used and are more modern style. Now these units here too, make sure that if you do buy a grapple handler like this, you have a third function valve in your tractor, similar to other grapples, because you need to open and shut your jaws. And that makes a big difference when you use these things. So you definitely need a third function valve setup. Alright, so I'm going to show you really quickly about using this bale hugger and how it works. So I have a third function valve right here on my fingers, so I can, you know, right here where my hand is, so I can open and close the gates at a fingertip, the third function. So to open it up, they're both open. So what we're going to do is we're going to load this up. I have somebody here to buy some hay, the hay that we were planning on selling, and I just wrapped. So kind of doing this one-handed, it's kind of tough, but you can see the hugger working. So all you gotta do is get on it, pick them up, spin them. So I can take this right now, put it on your truck. I'm just going to drop it down a little bit. Just give it a squeeze, and you're off to go. Now you can carry doubles, and I'm going to do a double here just so you can see it. But if you're going to do doubles, definitely only want to do it with dry hay, because if it's not dry, those bales could weigh well over 1,000 pounds each, and you know, depending on the size of the tractor, that's a lot to manage. So we don't want to do that. For single bales, this is the easiest way to do it, and with the bale wrapper on the back, I definitely have a lot more balance, so it makes things easier. So drop them in easy. So they're picking up 4. I'm just going to do a quick doubles just so you guys see it. The doubles work out real well. They're really not hard to do. Now if you're in a field and you were stacking like right round bales like dry hay and you want to just gather them, I would say that that'd be an ideal thing to do. It might not be the easiest thing to stack on a trailer with a hugger, but if you're just accumulating bales, you know, and you grab 2 at one time on the front end and 1 on the back, you know, you're actually going to move a lot more hay that way. Here I have 2 bales. I want to get the flattest one on the top down first, so what we're going to do is we're just going to flip one over, create a base. So that would be the base, that'll be the top. And the huggers are really gentle. I mean, I've never ripped one bale ever with these huggers. And like I say, they can do 4x5 bales. Not a problem. And they have some of them I believe can do bigger. I never did anything bigger than a 4x5, so I can't really talk much about the sizes. But I would guess if you're doing baleage, doing a 4x6 bale is really huge and really heavy. So I don't even think that's doable. But anyway, I got 2 stacked on top of each other. I'm going to come down and I'm going to grab basically at the top of the bottom bale and the bottom of the top bale and squeeze them together. I have them both picked up. And there you have it. So now I'm carrying 2. So that just basically gives you guys a pretty quick idea and how you can manage and handle bales. I'm going to put this phone down now so I can kind of control what I'm doing. I just wanted to give you guys a good visual of how you can manipulate and use this bale grabber to move bales. So one of my customers who actually buys these all the time from me, she likes to store them setting up like this, and she likes them for two reasons. Once they're in this position, she doesn't have a tractor, so she can roll them, and they roll very easy once they're wrapped. You can roll them across mud, dirt, gravel, and you're protecting your hay. You know, whereas if they're not rolled up, a lot of times they'll fall apart, and they're harder to move, and if they get wet, you know, it kind of defeats the purpose. So she'll store them exactly like this. The rain will come down and shear off the bale, and it works really well for her, and she says she's never had any real problems with this. But if you look at guys that are doing baleage, they'll have them flipped upright with the bottoms, you know, laying flat. And I've actually stacked them outside like that, and sometimes they get moisture to actually get in the bale. So this might be the better way, I don't know. For the most part though, I keep most of my hay inside. And for 1 year I tried to take a bunch of it, and I wrapped like 300 bales to keep them outside, and just to give myself more room. But I got moisture coming into these bales, and I don't know why it is, you know, and I put them on a roadway that was gravel. So it's not like you're sitting in water, but moisture seems like it creeps in here at some point. On a short-term basis, this is great, but on a long-term basis, you know, I put a lot of wraps on these bales, and, you know, I still get moisture come in. Now, it doesn't make the bales bad, and for the most part, if it does get wet, it gets wet like on a little coating on the outside. But, you know, and you might have a ring out there. What I've learned is, what I like to do is once I'm ready to feed these out, I like to cut them open, get them inside and let them breathe a little bit, and get air to them, and then they dry themselves out. And the animals eat what they like, and they don't eat what they don't like. But this is a very economical way. If you don't have a building, try to store them above the ground. Keep them like this if you'd like. Let the water shed off of them, and you will protect your bales. And I think that'll make a little bit of a difference for you as far as storage goes, because it's better to have them covered with something than not covered with anything. And this is way better than tarps. And again, even just the management of moving these around, it's a lot better. Now, if you do take a bale spear and you do poke them, you can get net wrap or tape for this type of plastic that they actually sell for baleage. But you also can use like Gorilla Tape too, which some people say not to use, but it does stick to this and will at least give you some kind of protection against the weather. So if you do poke a hole, just put some tape on it, and it will at least seal it up and keep you clean. And you don't want water to get into your bales, and that's just like anything else. Now, we got to worry about cats, raccoons, you know, birds sometimes can tear into these. But for the most part, if you store them properly and you use them quickly, I think they work out well. I like to wrap them for my customers, you know, 2-3 months that they'll store them, and then they'll use them, and they really have very little problems. And I've noticed in the short term, that's not a bad way to go. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video on wrap and dry bales using the Farmland/AgWrap style bale wrapper. You know, I really enjoy the bale wrapper. I've learned to use it, and once I got over the learning curve, it really helped me out. Nobody really showed me how to use it. I kind of learned on my own, and I will make a future video on some of the tricks of using that bale wrapper and that style of bale wrapper, because it may help other people out there that are having some hard times with it. Because for some reason, I see some of these people selling them, and I think it's really a good wrapper. You just need to kind of work out some of the kinks. Secondly, you know, I do like wrap and dry hay. I think it works out really good. A lot of my customers really like it, and they like to store it this way because, again, they can move it, and it stores well for them, especially when they have no place to actually store their bales. So, hopefully that you gain something from this, but make sure your hay is dry. And when I mean dry, I said take a moisture meter to it. If it's like 10% or so, you're going to have really good dry hay, and it should work out real well. But if this bale is high in moisture, say 20%, you're almost doing baleage in some degree, or what they call sweet hay, where you might get some moisture trapped inside this bale as the bale sits. And it'll work really good for cows, and even horses would like it, but just be remembering that that may ferment a little bit and get a little bit wet. And you need to let this breathe a little bit when you open it up. And I know that horses will eat wetter hay that's been in here, and I've had no problems with it, but be cautious of that. Now, I rebale So I don't want any moisture at all in my bales. And that's kind of where I have a problem with this, because if I have bales that are wet, it makes it harder in the rebaling process. So I prefer my hay to be stored inside completely and dry. But if I was just selling wrapped bales, this is not a bad way to go. So, but if you have cows, don't be afraid to wrap dry hay, because I'll tell you what, I'd rather you wrap your dry hay and store it outside, even if it's stored like this, and you're going to have a better bale than you would if you leave it outside completely exposed to the elements with the snow and the rain, and it just soaks up, and it's just not good quality bale. And you're losing a lot of nutritional value doing that also. So do yourself a favor. Try to wrap some dry hay, see how you like it, and find somebody that wraps. And you may really think that it works out good for your operation. If you're a horse owner and you want it on the short term, find somebody that wraps. And if you don't have the storage area, this is a wonderful idea. Plus, if you don't have the tractor to move it around, again, wrap bales are easier to move than bales that are loose. So with that said, thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop a line and let me know what your questions are, and hopefully I can answer them. Again, until next time, see you guys later.